and we are going to go ahead and get started. The music I am playing is Rodrigo y Gabriela. I'm going to put it in the chat. And the song is Tamakun. They do guitar covers. I really or they cover songs with like Spanish guitar style. I really like their music, and it's good pump me up music before a presentation. I always listen to it, so I'm like, woo, excited and not boring as I present. So I just put the music in the chat because somebody asked, and we're gonna get started. I am Erica Peplinski-Burge. And just to tell you a little bit about myself, I did study both elementary education and I have my minors in Spanish and science with my plus 30 in some Spanish and neuroscience classes, and I have my master's in teaching. I spent 18 years in the classroom. I was the Michigan World Language Association Teacher of the Year. I've worked on a lot of different elementary and middle school curriculums. I've taught every grade from pre-kindergarten until 8th grade, so I've got like a large view of how the kids learn. And I'm a mom to 3, and I get to watch my own kids develop their language too. So I've got lots of views of language development. Lorena, do you want to
Hello,
introduce
everyone.
yourself?
Yeah, hello, everyone. My name is Lorena Ojeda.
Oh, I can't hear you for some reason.
Can you hear me
Can
now?
other people hear Lorena?
Yes.
Yes?
Okay, I can
Okay.
hear now. Sorry.
Okay. My name is Lorena Ojeda. I'm an ESL/EFL teacher. I got a bachelor's in English language teaching and also another one in linguistics and literature. I've been teaching English for more than 15 years. I've spent 8 years teaching in the US and then in Argentina. I am a mom to 3. I've taught from little ones to adult learners, and it's a great pleasure to always share some of that experience with you guys. Thank you for joining us today.
Yes, we hope that this will be useful for you. So here's kind of our plan for the evening.
So we're going to start with our community building through language, which Erica is going to cover all those ways in which you can do that. Also, she's going to demonstrate an amazing way to use your student surveys. We're also going to talk care and ways in which you can support yourself and be the best way you can, and also nurture your students' classrooms and spaces and your relationship with your students. We're also going to talk about social emotional learning that is also related to self-care. And then we're going to play a game. Hopefully everyone is in the mood for that. And we're going to also share some ideas with you.
Yeah,
So let's get started.
and hopefully you will have some ideas that you want to share too, and you'll take at least something away that will make your year easier. Now, when I teach languages, I teach with comprehensible input, and especially when I was teaching with my pre-K through 3rd grade, I find those first few days and how you set it up to be really important. And our brains are meant to acquire languages, right? We're all language learners, and it's really for me always important and empowering to get the kids like excited about learning and feeling really, really confident about what they're about to do. And so with my youngest students, I always say, oh, greetings from Ohio. That's very close. I always tell my students something along the lines of, in my class, we are like un detective, a detective, and I hold up like a magnifying glass and I make it really obvious. And I say you have to use your eyes, but I say that part in Spanish, and your ears to understand what I'm saying. And then I ask my kids to guess, what do you think a detective is? And I make it super, super obvious. And the kids will all call out the answers because my students know when I go like this, they can yell out the answers. And then I'll say, you'll use your ojos, and I'll point at my ojos, which are eyes in Spanish, and I'll tell the kids, what do you think ojos are? And I'll have them tell me what they think ojos are, and I'll have them call it out really loud. And all I'm doing is really, really trying to build confidence, because if they don't feel like they can do it, they're not going to be able to do it. I'm trying to get them hyped up at the start of the year, feeling like really confident language learners. With my older students, I tell them, we acquire or we learn our 2nd, 3rd, or 4th language the same way we learned our first language as a baby. And that's by listening to interesting things and having people speak in a way that's understandable for us. Because if we're talking to babies, we're not going to sit there and like, I've got a new novel right here by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I love it. I'm not going to read this to a baby, right? Because a baby's not going to understand the novel. I'm not going to talk about physics with a baby, but I'm going to say, oh, do you want some water? Here's some water. And I'm going to use caretaker speech. And I tell my students, my older students, their job is to use their eyes and their ears to understand what I'm saying. And my job is to tell them interesting things that they can understand. And they need to let me know when they're not understanding. But if we work together this way, they're going to learn languages really, really easily in a way that's just right for their brain. And getting the kids involved that way, getting them to understand how we're learning and getting them to feel confident in the beginning of the year really sets you up for a fabulous year. So after that, I tell my students we're going to play a guessing game. And I'm going to tell you some things that I like in Spanish. Me gusta means I like. And I know many of you are Spanish teachers, but we aren't all. So that's why I'm clarifying. And I'm going to tell you some things I like. And I want you to try to guess what it is I like. And so obviously this is pretty obvious here. I've got a big picture of chocolate, and chocolate it's spelled the same in English and Spanish. So if English isn't your first language, that's going to cue that up for you really quickly. So I tell my students, me gusta el chocolate. What do you think chocolate means? And I might even have them tell a friend if it's a shy class before they tell me. If I go like this, my students know to call out the answer. If I go like this, they know to raise their hand. But chocolate is obviously chocolate, and that's something that most people like. So then I'm starting to build like some community with my students because we're all talking about chocolate. And after I talk about how much I like chocolate, which is mucho, a lot, I'll ask them, ¿Te gusta el chocolate? Do you like chocolate? And you could just have the kids raise their hand if they like chocolate. You could ask a couple of individual kids, and they might just give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down, but you're getting lots of interesting repetitions of me gusta, me gusta, me gusta, which is a good thing for kids to acquire. I like, I like, I like. And again, you're starting to build confidence and build community right away. Oops, I went the wrong way. I'm sorry, I'm not used to presenting with Canva. There we go. Okay. Then I would say me gusta el color azul, which is I like the color blue. And I would do the same thing. Do you like blue? I like blue. And then you could even, if you have a more advanced class, say, what color do you like? And you're getting, again, community building. You're starting to get them talking about things that they like. You're starting to talk about colors in an authentic manner. Was someone going to ask a question? And it's all happening very organically. You could even say, I like the color blue. Do you like the color blue? Raise your hand if you like the color blue. And you could count the kids in class. Oh, 23 people like the color blue. And then again, building community. And you're also practicing numbers in an authentic context. My next two slides are I like the unicorn because kindergartners and little kids really like unicorns. And again, it's a cognate, which means it sounds the same in whatever language you're teaching and the first language of the students. And you're again building community, you're counting, you're getting extra repetitions of me gusta. One word about cognates. It's really important with cognates that you always go ahead and define what the cognate means, because even though your first language might be English, or most of your students' first language might be English, you will likely have some kids whose first language is not English. So even something that seems super obvious to someone who is an English speaker wouldn't be obvious so much to someone who is like a Mandarin speaker or an Arabic speaker. So even if you feel really confident with the cognate, it's a really great idea to go ahead and define it, because we never want to leave any of our kids behind. And then me gusta el monstruo. I like the monster. Again, this is just a whole playing with the class, getting lots of repetitions, building community. With older kids, I would do something like I like to play video games. I like to read books, because then you can ask them, well, what's your favorite video game? What's your favorite book? I might say I like to watch Netflix, because that could lead into asking what's your favorite Netflix show. So these questions can build into the whole conversations that get your class feeling like a community, which is really important because kids are not going to take risks in the classroom, and learning a language is a risk. It's a scary thing unless they feel safe to do so. Okay, so after we've done, oh, someone said I froze. Am I frozen still? Does anyone have any, I should probably
No,
ask.
you're good.
Okay, good. Excellent. If I froze for one person, there will be a video. But this has Me Gusta. I have 3 different games for this. I'm going to describe one and we're going to just play one a tiny bit. The first one and the most fun one is I have my students sit in a circle and I play 2, and we have 1 less chair than people. So if I had 18 people, including myself in the circle, I would have 17 chairs. One person goes in the middle and they make an I like statement like me gusta el chocolate. I like chocolate. Anyone who also likes chocolate has to stand up and switch places, including that person in the middle. And then whoever is left in the middle makes the next I like statement. Now, I do, especially at the start of the year, let my students finish that sentence in English. Like they might say, me gusta cats. And I mean, we all know that it should be gustan, but that doesn't really matter at this point because we're just trying to get the language in their head. And I would just say the word for them in Spanish to say, oh, ¿te gustan los gatos? You like cats? So I would just say it for them in Spanish, so they have that language, because a lot of the times if it's a word they really like, they'll just pick it up instantly. But it's a great way to, again, build community, give the kids a chance to share something that they want to share, and also get lots and lots of repetitions of me gusta in their head. They're going to go home saying me gusta because they're going to hear it so many times. If a kid gets in the middle, especially at the start of the year, and they really don't want to share, I'll let them pick someone to go next. I will tell you that almost never happens. And usually after we play the game a few times, everyone wants to share, and it's more a matter of like, no, we don't have time to keep going, and the kids just really want to play. Another way you can do this game if you don't want to, drag out all the chairs, is just have your students stand or sit in a circle, and one person makes a me gusta statement, like an I like statement. And if they agree with them, they stand up. If they disagree, they sit down. And if they don't know, they go like this, right? Which is sign language for I don't know. It's American Sign Language for I don't know. And I teach them no say means I don't know. And this is a way that I very early on try to build an open mindset, right? Because if I have a kid that stands up and says, I like to eat crickets, which people do, especially in parts of Mexico, there are some kids who are going to be like, oh my gosh, that's so gross. But then I always tell them, wait a minute, have you tried crickets before? Most of them will say no. Oh, then do you actually know how it tastes? Oh, no. Oh, so this might be more of like an I don't know thing, right? Because you've never really experienced this. Like there was a point in your life when you had never tried chocolate or never tried tacos or never tried popcorn, and you didn't know until you tried it. And so I always use that as a chance to build in a kind of a little lecture, a mini lecture about open mindset. And I always tell my kids, if we all had blonde hair and blue eyes and wore black shirts, and we all rooted for the same sports teams and ate the same food for breakfast and lunch and dinner, and we celebrated the same holidays, and we did everything the exact same, would the world be interesting or boring? And I have taught thousands of children, and I have never had a kid be like, oh yeah, that'd be really cool. They start to get it. They start to go like, oh, it's the things that are different about us that are our strengths, right? We can learn from each other and grow from each other. Because if we were all the exact same with the exact same brains, we would never do anything really cool. And this is part of building open mindset. And it's so exciting after you have this conversation, because kids will start to be like, oh yeah, maybe I like that thing. And they start to get into it, and it makes me very, very happy. And it's oh, thank you. Um, it's a very it's a powerful message to get out to them right at the start of the year. One other way you can play the Me Gusta game if you want to take your kids outside is you have one kid be a shark and they stand in the middle, and you have 2 lines of kids like across the field. And I always define the field with a couple of cones. And the teacher calls out a Me Gusta statement like I like chocolate, and everyone that likes chocolate has to run across the field while the sharks try to tag them in the middle. So if they get tagged, then they become a shark, and then you call another me gusta statement. Or you could say a no me gusta, and I don't like statement. Like oftentimes the statement I give is I like chocolate, and only half the kids run across, then the next statement I say is, I don't like chocolate, just to get the other kids moving back and forth. And again, it's a really fun way to get the kids moving, to get lots of extra repetitions in their head. Once your kids are confident with the language, I have the kids call out the statement. So whoever is the shark in the middle of the field, this field of two kids who are running across back and forth, they're going to say the I like statement. They might say like, I like video games. And then again, everyone who likes video games has to run across, and the shark tries to tag them. If they get tagged, they're a shark too. And then the last person standing is the one that's it next time, or they get to pick the person that's it. So those are all the Me Gusta games. And it's a great way to get lots of language in your kid's head and to get them building community and feeling good about sharing. Does anyone have any questions on those before I move on to the next slide? I had some extra coffee today. I always do when I'm doing a presentation, so I worry about talking too quickly. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on. Okay, this is another favorite way to start the year, and some of you may have heard of it, some of you may have not. There's two different versions. One I have done many times, and one I just learned about from Diana Castro. Two truths, one lie is you have the kids write on a card, or they can get up and say it, just depending upon where your students that are at, two things that are true and one lie. And then the student says that to the class, or you read it, the card to the class, and the students have to guess which one is the lie. So for example, I might say, I went to Wendy's. I went to Taco Bell. I went and got a coffee. Which one is the lie? I'm sorry. I did it the wrong way. I did it two truths. I did two lies and one truth. Let me try that again. I'm going to say, I went to get coffee. I went to Target. I went to Dairy Queen. Which one is the lie? Go ahead and write it in the chat. Which one do you think is a lie?
Pretty interesting options.
I said Target,
Let's see.
coffee, and Dairy Queen. I kind of gave it away because I didn't say it 100% correctly. But yes, Dairy Queen was the lie. I didn't go to Dairy Queen, though my kids really, really wanted me to. I figured we'd had enough ice cream over the summer. But I did go to Target, and I did go and get coffee because we were doing some back to school shopping. When I play two truths and a lie, like in my Spanish, like 2 or 3 class, it would be something like fui a, I went to, fui a Target. So lots of examples of I went to, I went to, I went to as the kids play. I also, when I'm giving the example for this one, I always tell my students, I always give an example of something really like typical that everyone would do, like I went to Target, I went to Dairy Queen, I went to, I can't remember the third place I said, I went to TJ Maxx. I always give things that everyone might do, because I don't want to start a pattern where kids say things like, I went to the Bahamas, I went on a cruise, because I don't want any kid to ever be like, oh, everyone's sharing amazing vacation things they did, and I just went to Target. So if you start out the example with something really basic, like I went to Target, most of the kids will follow suit. Because I always want kids to feel good and included in their class. And not feel like, oh, everyone else is going to really crazy places and I'm just going to Target. So the version I read about from Diana Castro is called Two Truths, One Wish. And the way this version works is the kids write down two things that are true and one thing that is a wish, and you can use more advanced language with this one. And then you have to guess what the wish is, right? So I could say, I ate chocolate today. I drank coffee today. I had coconut curry soup today. Which one is the wish? Two are true and one is a wish. I ate chocolate today. I drank coffee today. I ate coconut curry soup today.
Yeah, I think the curry soup as well. I agree with Jean.
The curry soup is correct. That's what I'm having for dinner. Actually, that's what my husband is making right now for dinner. So I'm hoping, I'm wishing, I am genuinely wishing that I will get to eat that very soon without having to do any of the cooking since I am doing this. So that one, you can use a wide variety of language. You could even have them say things like I would like or I might like, just depending upon the level of your students. So there's a lot of options for you with that one. I thought that was a really fun twist.
It is a great one. I was thinking that you could even do it with elementary levels, like
Hmm.
I am, for example, using soy, like I'm a dancer, I'm a, a writer, I'm whatever. And then you can use that simplified language as well.
Oh, I love that idea, Lorena. Because then if you have the kids doing I am statements, and I have so many fun things you can do with those, then
Exactly.
you get to know them all more, right? And you get to see how they
Yeah.
see themselves, which is so important. I love that. That's a great twist.
Yeah.
Okay. Another favorite way to start the day is to do 3 clues about the students. So I'll have the students write 3 clues on a piece of paper, and then they turn it into me. They keep it super secret, and then I will give the 3 clues to the class, and then the class tries to guess which student it is. And I would reveal them one at a time, and I would start with a really general clue, and then I would get more specific as I went. And then that also is really nice for you as a teacher because you can look around the room and you can see who understands what you're saying and who doesn't understand and who's like looking for help. So I might have these 3 clues the kids have written on like note cards and given to me. And this is for either myself or Lorena because I didn't know who would show up tonight. But the 3 clues are the mystery person likes chocolate. And everyone will be looking around the room and be like, oh, who likes chocolate? And they might even ask each other, like, do you like chocolate? And if you have, built it up the right way, they might even ask each other in Spanish or the target language if you're lucky. The mystery person likes coffee would be the second clue. And again, they're looking around the room. Um, Someone said their internet went out and they missed what I said. This game is just called 3 clues really quickly. You have students write 3 clues about themselves that nobody would know on a note card and their name. You have them turn it in super secret, and then you read the clues to the class, and the class has to guess who you are describing. And you don't have to do like all of your students on one day. I'll often keep a stack of note cards and do this over several weeks so that it's a fun thing and kids get to like guess when they're going to be featured. The mystery person likes coffee. And then again, the kids would be looking around the room trying to guess who likes coffee. And then I might say the mystery person has 2 dogs and a cat. And that mystery person, I'll just give it away, is me because that's just I was going fast when I was making the presentation. But with students, it's really great because they're going to be learning things about all of the students in their room. They're going to be learning things. They're going to be sharing things that they want to share with their classmates that maybe they haven't had a chance to. And they're going to be featured. And it really is great for our brain. Like when we talk about ourselves, it releases dopamine in the brain. No problem. And when you release dopamine in the brain, it makes you happy. And so the kids talking about themselves or hearing other people described gets them really excited and is very interesting. So it's a high interest activity that's going to make the language really comprehensible for them. So that one is 3 clues. This is one I have not tried. I saw it described in a Facebook group a while ago, and I'm sad because I don't remember the teacher's name who described it, but this sounded amazing. And I always had Play-Doh in my room, and I didn't always utilize it. So basically, you just give the kids Play-Doh.
Put it down, AJ. It only could be for you.
And then you give them some prompts. So the prompt might be create something that represents your experience in Spanish 1 or in French 1 or in German 1 or whatever your class was. And the kids are going to create something. And while the kids are creating whatever they're creating, you're going to, as a teacher, walk around and talk to all of them and ask them questions about what they are creating. And you're building those bonds, you're building community, and then you're going to talk about it all as a class, right? And that's going to let you, with this particular prompt, know how they felt about the language from the last year if it's not, their second year learning the language. But again, you're starting to build community. Create something that represents a personal goal you have for yourself. Knowing those goals are so powerful. It gets, and Beth says she's done some this at a PD and it was fun. It does look fun. I was like, ooh, that's super, super fun. And Haley says they've done that with Legos. And again, fabulous idea. I love this. You could even do it with drawing if you don't have access to those great things. But the goal is having the kids have their hands on things. It's having them talk to each other. Oh, Jean says she's used Play-Doh for vocab words. I have too. That's fabulous. I use it for reenacting stories. There's lots of uses. I just sometimes get lazy and don't get it out, but I love this one. And then you create something that represents an academic goal you had for yourself. Create something that represents your summer break, create a pet you have or a wish to have. These are all just different prompts you can do with the Play-Doh. You can talk about them as a class. You can talk about similarities and differences, and you can get a lot of individual conversation in with your students. So those are some of my favorite start to the school year activities. This student survey is crucial for me. As an elementary teacher, I had 20 different classes and I had something like 800 students. And so knowing each of my students on a real individual level was a major challenge for me. So what I started doing was student surveys. And they got a little bit more complicated. I mean, this was the first one was like for kindergarten. This is for my third graders. And the students just tell you a bunch of things about themselves. They tell you what they want, what they have, what they like, what they don't like, and then a bunch of different favorites. And then what I do with these student surveys, and I've done them both as paper copies at the start of the year, or I've done them online, and I really like having it online because then I have it really easy to access, is I keep these surveys all year. And then if I have a kid who is just seems down all the time and I don't know what's going on with them, I will, check in with the student, of course, but if they aren't ready to share with you, I will look at their survey. And then if I know that that kid loves Darth Vader, I'll start putting Darth Vader in a bunch of stories. Or if that kid really loves sharks, then sharks will be like the scary thing in all the stories, or I'll have sharks in class all the time. But these surveys are a really great way to get to know your students. And like when you need like that little extra thing that's going to catch that student or to increase interest, you can look at these surveys and there's so much information on them. From the books the kids are reading to the shows they're watching to the games they're playing, it's all right there for you. And if you keep these surveys all year long and then you look it up and you're like, oh, so-and-so likes sushi. And then you say to that person, oh, I know you like sushi. Their mind will be blown. They're like, how did you remember that? And you'd be like, oh, because you're my student and I know you really well. But actually you just checked the sheet, because it's really hard to remember all of the things. But these surveys are amazing. The last question I always ask on them is, tell me something, tell me anything you want to tell me, right? It could be, I want to eat cookie dough ice cream for breakfast. It could be something serious. And when I give students a chance to tell me whatever they want to tell me, I learn some really, really, really deep things about students. Because a lot of the time students want to share, but they don't want to share in front of the class, or you have your introverts who they want to tell you, but they don't have that one-on-one time. And so giving a chance for students to like just tell you whatever they want to tell you on the back of a piece of paper or at the end of a survey is, again, super, super powerful. Many years ago, I worked in a district that had it was like a Title I school. It was a place where they didn't have as much access to resources. And when I first became the Spanish teacher, the kids really didn't like Spanish the year before, and they gave me a really hard time, and it was really tough, even though I'd already been teaching for many, many years. So I did a bunch of research, and one of the things I realized was I needed to build community a lot more. And I came across this question that was super amazing, and that it was, tell me who your hero is. Tell me who you look up to. And when I did that with that community of students, I learned so much about them and I bonded so much with the students. That was really the start to opening doors with them. So that's another really, really great question to ask your students is, who do you look up to? Who is your hero? Who's your person? And it could be a family member, but it could also be like a sports player or someone who's achieved something. It doesn't matter. But that's just a really great way to kind of get inside your students' heads and to get to know them as people, because they're all coming to you with their own unique problems and accomplishments and challenges, and we just need to meet them each where they're at, right? Because no two brains are exactly the same. We're all in different places. Okay, self-care. We're getting into the self-care portion, and Lauren has got some really awesome things to tell you about it, but I have just a tiny bit more to tell you first. This is something that I tell my students even as young as kindergarten, because I think it's a really important thing for them to understand. And this is the way I explain it to my younger students, so I'm going to explain it to you in the same way, just so I don't get too technical and so that we stay within our time period. Our brain is kind of like a house with two floors, right? Both floors are really, really, really important. The bottom floor is the floor that's responsible for all of the things we do that keep us alive, like our heart beating and breathing and stepping out of the way of like a car or not falling when we're walking down the hall. That's our bottom floor. And it is crucial for us to be alive. It keeps us alive. Our top floor is the floor that does the higher level thinking. It helps us make good choices. It helps us learn. And these two floors work together most of the time. However, when we are stressed out, the bottom floor pulls the ladder to the top floor, and the bottom floor just takes over. And it doesn't matter if we're stressed out because our friend told us they don't want to sit with us at lunch, or because we're not sure what we're going to have for dinner, or because we're stressed out about a test, or because our grandma is sick. It doesn't matter to our bodies what the stress is. It's still going to pull the ladder, right? And when we pull the ladder, our body goes into this mode where it tries to keep us safe. And so we breathe faster and our heart beats faster, and we get tense and ready to fight or to hide, right? Because that's our brain just trying to keep us alive. But if we realize when that's happening, if we can feel when we're breathing faster, when our heart's beating faster, when we're starting to get worked up, we can help our brain to put the ladder back up so we can listen to both floors of our brain. And one of the things that's important to know is that our brain and body communicate. So when our brain says, I'm stressed out, then our body says, I'm going to breathe faster and my heart's going to beat faster. And so if we control the breathing, then we send a message to our brain saying, hey, everything's actually okay. And our brain knows it can put the ladder back up. So I'm just going to teach you just one breathing technique I love. And I love it for when like a student is giving me a really hard time and I know I need to calm down before I go and talk to them, or even when my own children are giving me a hard time, fighting in the backseat of the car, which does happen. And this is just 4, 7, 8 breathing. What we're going to do is we're going to breathe in through our nose for 4. We're going to hold our breath for 7. And we're going to breathe out nice and slow for 8. Now, this is not like a shallow breath. Put your hand on your stomach, and when you breathe in, you want to feel your hand lift up. You want to actually make sure you're taking in all of the air. If you cannot quite hold your breath for the full 7, that's totally fine to let it go early. And you want to breathe out nice and slow. I have my kids usually put their hand out here. Tell them they want to feel like a nice steady stream of breath on their hand. Now, when I'm doing this in class, I do it in the target language, so it counts as some language practice too. We're going to all try it really quickly. Go ahead and breathe in through your nose for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out nice and slow for 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. One more time. Inhala. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Espera. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhala. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I didn't get to do the breathing with you, but even just counting that breathing, I feel more calm. I hope you feel more calm. That technique is highly effective when you are feeling stressed out. I'm going to turn this over to Lorena for a minute because she has some more. Oh, that was my breathe slide. I breathed before the slide. She has some more amazing things to tell you, though.
Okay, thank you. So connecting to everything that Erica was saying and how our brain is working and, the 2 floors and everything, there are things sometimes that even from my experience of being stressed or anxious about things in life, there are things that is really good for us to keep in mind, especially now that we are getting ready, or some of you guys have already started your school year, is this the importance of understanding how social emotional learning, and in this case, mindfulness, can help us be grounded, being our full self. And one of those things is basically, as teachers, we are planners. We love planning, we love to prepare for the future, making sure everything is good. But that sometimes takes away the enjoyment of the moment. And so there are things, for example, that I want to show you here is what happens when our mind, when our body is present, but what happens when we are stuck in the past. Sometimes being stuck in the past doesn't help us to continue or do things in our life, right? So people who are too stuck in the past, according to research, may be more prone to suffer from depression or extreme sadness. On the other hand, if we are too worried or we're always thinking about the future, what's going to happen, what's going to happen, what's going to happen, we get to the other extreme and we can develop anxiety because we want to be ahead of time, right? And being able to do things a different way is understanding that if we are present now and here, we can enjoy the moment. And so I'm going to show you different ways in which we can achieve that focus, because that's what also breathing does, is help us focus and bring our mind back to now and here, because we are everywhere. We want to do many things at the same time sometimes, but it's also good to enjoy and focus on the present moment and what is going on. So we're gonna go to our next slide. And then basically in this case, the idea is to how we're gonna cultivate that mindset of now and here. One of them is presence. So presence means, okay, everything else is going on in my mind. I am here. And one of those things is contemplating nature or being in contact with nature. And you will see on the picture on the left side that I did a breathing activity with my students at a school here in Argentina. And we are in our in the patio area of our school, and we are sitting, we are enjoying the sunshine, we're enjoying the beautiful day we had, and we went all outside and we started breathing. And doing that thing, taking the energy from the sun, was a great way to change the environment and also to provide that amazing experience to them. Another thing, according to research, helps develop and cultivate self-awareness is how we connect to nature in terms of just hugging a tree for a couple of seconds does have an amazing effect in our brain. In Argentina, in the north of Argentina, and sure in other countries in Latin America, the month of August is designed, or is basically for generations, is Pachamama, Mother Earth. So we take time of our days to dig a hole, that's the Pachamama hole, and to connect with nature in this way and be grateful and show our gratitude to everything that Mother Earth gives us. That is an ancient practice. And I love it because now I get to understand how well it is to do that, to connect, to be grateful for that. And a cultural activity also that you can do, Spanish teachers, or I'm sure there are other ways, other cultures do connect with nature as well. So that is something that there are some things that you can do, and maybe take 10 minutes of your class to do that and then bring the kids back or continue the lesson there. That can be a great game changer for your classes. So maybe just try it, and hopefully that works for you. We're going to move on to our next slide. And there are a couple of other things that I wanted to share with you. Okay, oh yeah, there you go. So here I run away for a second because I forgot that I had my little breathing ball. But here also are some other activities that you can also use with your students. I have also listed here, hand breathing that you can also use, tracing, the different fingers or doing this with your students. I love this ball because with this ball, the kids also do it with their hands. And sometimes when I do one breathing, it's basically inhaling, opening the ball, and then holding for 2 or 3 seconds, and then exhaling. And the fun thing about using this ball is that I sometimes like to pass to my other kids. And then they do it and we do it together. So using this ball can be something fun, another fun breathing activity that you can also do with your students, and also understanding their breathing, because adult breathing is different than younger kids breathing. So we might want to also pay attention to how we do it and the counting and understand that as well. Then you also have bubbles. They always help. And it's a great way just to tell your kids to blow some bubbles and help them breathe. And also kids who see the bubbles like to pop them. So the idea is to help your brain focus on something else. It's called breathing ball. I have a question from LT. It's a breathing ball, or I can see if I can find, I found it as a breathing ball. In my case, I just have one and I model it like this with my kids, and they open their hands to follow the same movement. And sometimes, and then, I like to pass it because that's a lot of fun, Another thing you can do is balloons. You can get the kids to blow the balloons and then release there. So that's another way to do it. I said bubbles, and then you have square breathing. Also, there are so many ways that you can use in your classes. These are some, and I hope they are useful and you get to use them. You can also make your own if you cannot find this ball. I'm sure that there are ways we can make something similar. And then that's the idea of these types of reading activities for you, and also to have fun with your kids and your students. And I just wanted to share some phrase here that I think is an amazing way to use also our reading is, feelings come and go like clouds in a windy sky. Conscious reading is my anchor. So I hope it is your anchor too, because 1 minute, 2 minutes of breathing does make a difference. And just like Erica said, it helps us connect these two floors in our brains, sending that signal that everything is okay, I'm okay. And then things can be done and said in a different way, can make a big difference. So, all right, so let's go to our next slide. Oh, this is one of my favorite things. Talking about also mindfulness and social emotional learning. I love Inside Out. That's one of my favorite movies. You can also use that as an intro activity to talk about emotions, as an intro activity to develop language proficiency, if that's what you also want, language focus, or as a way to connect and talk about, bring awareness to some of the emotions that happen in that movie, or to talk about the emotions that are, something happening in the classroom. So I'm going to ask Erica to play the video. It's a long rap, so we're just going to play maybe 1 minute. But I'd like you to pay attention to, the lyrics are there, so you'll be able to read. I selected one focus here for the part of the chorus, but please listen and see what you can catch and pay attention to the rhyming pattern, because for me that is something really cool. Okay, so let's play the first minute.
Hey, Learn Rock, Cónigo Clay en Production, presenta Intensamente 2. Han pasado los años y Riley es adolescente, jugando al coquí y en familia siempre felizmente. El tiempo y la experiencia van formando que en su mente las creencias que la construyen muy frecuentemente. El coquí desde niña siempre ha sido su pasión, por eso recibió una noticia con mucha emoción. Junto a sus dos amigas gritaba con atención que al campamento de Coqui recibió la invitación. Que se siente que insegura, que ella estaba emocionada. Con este campamento su meta sería lograda, formar parte del equipo que ella sería destacada. Era lo que ella buscaba, por eso se dedicaba. Siento que estoy tan cansado, no tengo ganas de más.
Emociones pasajeras. Okay, perfect. Did anyone catch? It's very catchy. Any words that you caught?
Cansado.
Cansado. Very good. Any rhyming pattern? Any rhyming pattern? It was too fast. It might be too fast for some people. So either way, we have pasión, emoción. Okay. And so that is another way to introduce your students to that. I picked soy honesto, soy valiente, sentimientos poderosos. That's part of the lyrics that we didn't get to listen to today. But there's a video, so you can watch it. You can, see if that's something that also you can use for your class. And music is an amazing way, just like JJ presented for the Back to School Bash, is another way to get the kids. If you listen to the song maybe a couple of times, you will be singing some of the lyrics. Okay, so hopefully that's another activity that helps. And in relation to the emotions, I'm going to present also something else that might be useful in our next slide, that you might also want to use. In this case, bringing awareness to the emotions and focusing on social emotional learning. I have written, and this is something that you can also do for your target language, if that's something that you think might work, or just if your students are like elementary or beginners, you can be like great happiness, worry, nervousness, and that will also be a good way to have your students do that. So let's do the first three emotions. The first one says a feeling of great happiness. Can you type it in the chat? You can type it in the target language. So what is a feeling of great happiness in the target language? Let's say French, Spanish. We have French and Spanish teachers.
So we're just typing something that is that emotion in our target language.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yes. Really quickly. Oh my goodness, I went. Sorry.
That's my fault,
Okay.
Elena.
Okay. So a feeling of great happiness. What is a feeling of great happiness? Voyager. Okay. How do you say joy in Spanish? Awesome. Those are those things. And that is alegría, joy. Viajar. Excellent. Very good. A feeling of worry and nervousness. Ansiedad. And what causes anxiety? Examen. Yes. So we can. I'm learning some French. That's the beauty. El primer día de clases. Awesome. That's amazing. Okay, perfect. So, and you can do that as, you can continue with that and talk to your kids and have them talk and connect the emotions, match them, and then describe what would be something that they feel like, just like we did. Okay, perfect. Next slide. I know we're running out of time. I'm sorry. Now we're going to fly. This is a really good one too. This is basically the ruler chart, where here the focus is to understand emotions that are high energy, low energy, pleasant and unpleasant. So you will see the red ones, they're like high energy and unpleasant. Blue ones are unpleasant, low energy. And then the yellow one is pleasant, high energy. And then the other one, the green one, is pleasant, low energy. Okay, so I got a link to a wheel. We won't get to do the wheel right now, but there is a link to a wheel that you can play with your students and, you know, do the wheel and then have them say if they get lively, for example. Is it high energy or low energy? What do you guys think? Oh, here, oh, so you open the wheel. Thank you, Erica. Yes, okay. Awesome. And our kids love the spin of the wheel. So worried. Worried. High energy, low energy. What do you think? And pleasant or unpleasant? Very good. Excellent. So you see, and this is how you can work with the full chart. Some of this, you know, if you want to simplify it, but that's the idea for us to understand what it is to have these emotions and whether they are low energy or high energy, unpleasant and unpleasant. Okay. The same will be done, or I propose the same thing with another authentic resource that I can email you guys if you need. That's in our next slide. And it's basically a bingo that I also played with these students while we were enjoying the sunshine. I gave them the cards and then I took different, you know, cards, and then we talk about high energy, low energy. And also we talked about situations. We are bigger soccer fans, so we talk about what happened when Argentina did that and then that. And that was fun. Yes, that will, oh, I can make one and send you the link. It's pretty easy if you need that, LT. Okay. All right. So let's go to our next slide. I'm so sorry. I'm really running. But yeah, but we want to play some games. So we want to run a little bit.
Lorena, I don't know if we'll have
yes.
time for games. I think maybe we
Oh.
should just finish up slides because we already went a little bit over, but that was my fault.
Oh.
I apologize.
Okay, perfect. So basically what you have here is like basically some of the strategies that will help you thrive. The idea is for us to make our emotions work for you, to use them, and to make sure that life from now on is a little bit better. Develop that healthy sense of who you are, better understand your thoughts and your feelings, and model that to your kids. And then self-management, which is managing those thoughts and feelings towards goals. So the more we learn about ourselves and how our emotions come to us, which is the 90-second rule, really quickly, like it takes 90 seconds for the emotions to come through our body and then leave. So just bear for those 90 seconds and you will be okay, and use those strategies and things that we share today.
Excellent. We were going to play look at game, but we ran out of time, and I want to be respectful of all of your time, especially at the start of the school year when I know you are all so busy and so tired. So I'm going to go ahead and skip this slide, but I do want to make sure that I give you our contact information. That's my email, that's Lorena's email, our website, vocesdigital.com. And you want to go ahead and share that amazing quote that you have there, Lorena?
Oh yes, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. So hopefully this is an amazing school year for you, and we're here to support you.
Thank you so much for being here and spending your time with us tonight. And we hope that you have a wonderful rest of your school year. Lorena, I have someone asking, oh, Lorena already replied. If you want the wheel and you email her, then she will send that wheel to you. And thank you very much for being here tonight.